Good evening. This is the 43rd meeting of the 72nd term of the Baltimore City Council. Is now called to order. Please turn off all cell phones and put them on vibrate. Tonight's invocation will be provided by Pastor Emily Scott of, Imagine the Church, Baltimore. After that, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. I'd like to invite you to take 3 breaths in and out. And out. In. And out. And in. And out. Source of life, source of love, source of the breath that is in us, source of the hearts that beat for a better world, we pray for the city of Baltimore. As we gather this evening to do our work together, make us mindful of the hearts that beat in this city, each and every heart that beats, on the way home from a long day of work, or just starting the shift, walking on weary feet, or heading lightly toward something new and hopeful. Business owners closing up shop, artists who step back and look at what they have made, he who sleeps on the street, she who is weary, kids who are hungry, kids who are learning. Make us mindful, God, of the many hearts and hands and voices that make up the chorus of this place. We all have a different story. Some stories have never been heard or told. We are here to serve your people, God, and make us mindful of each of them. The sudden anxieties that wake them up at night, of unpaid bills or the child who is suddenly slipping behind in school. Help us to pave a way for their dreams and aspirations. May we who are public servants seek in every moment, God, to serve each beating heart. May each decision we make be rooted in the hopes and needs and worries of the people we serve. Together, may we catch a sight of a dream of Baltimore that isn't yet here, but could be, but will be, when we remember each heart that beats, and remember our own that beats for a better chance, a better shot, a better world, a better hope, a better Baltimore. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, of liberty and justice for all. Look how far back I am. Who's been sitting?
Not you.
I want to thank Pastor Emily Scott for the invocation. The clerk will call the roll of the members.
President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you. This evening we welcome Wendy Samet, Executive Director of the Middle Grades Partnership.
Thank you. Dear Council President Young, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak before the Baltimore City Council about Middle Grades Partner. Thanks to you and your staff for coming to visit us this summer and bear witness to the work we're doing to bring together the area's public and private schools. My name is Wendy Samet, and I'm very proud to be the Executive Director of Middle Grades Partnership for the past 5 years. In a city as divided as Baltimore, in my own neighborhood of Bolton Hill, one can walk a few blocks in and across from areas of beautiful homes to good schools and relatively safe streets to neighborhoods of blight, fear, underachieving schools, and the constant fear of gun violence. Almost never do the residents of these two neighborhoods interact, share the same streets, or the same reality. Those who can afford send their children to the area's numerous private schools. The children of our neighborhoods, the teachers and leaders of the city's public and private schools don't know one another, don't learn from one another, and the cycle of two separate cities is perpetuated. But what if we could change that? I came to Baltimore as part of the rarefied world of painting conservation as a postgraduate fellow at the Walters Art Museum, and I loved that work. But for the past 20 years, I've devoted myself to trying to create one Baltimore, and I did so by helping found the Midtown Academy, and I do so on a larger scale now with Middle Grades Partnership. Middle Grades Partnership couples public and private schools, their teachers, leaders, and students in a mutually beneficial partnership. Originally designed to address issues of summer learning loss, these partnerships are now year-round and address not only academics, but work to break down silos of race, class, and opportunity that plague our city. How do we do that? We start by bringing together communities that have no other opportunity to interact in other circumstances to create intentional communities of learning and purpose. This year, Middle Grades Partnership supported 500 students in 9 pairs of public and private school partnerships. The head of school and principal of each appoint a director. The directors are not given a curriculum, but rather a set of goals. Recruit students who will stay with the program for 3 years, and create an experience that will ensure that at the end of these 3 years, students will be able to write a 5-paragraph essay, read above grade level, able to cite from text and hopefully read for pleasure, be ready for high school algebra, and for our public school students, prepare them for acceptance to the city's top academically competitive high schools. We ask our public school directors to recruit middle-performing, often overlooked students. Neither the most at risk, though we have some of those, nor the academic superstars, though we have a few of those too. From the private schools, we ask that the directors simply let everyone know about Middle Grades Partnership, and we accept as many interested students as we can without displacing any public school students or making any program more than half public and half private school students. Most of our partnerships approach 1/3 private and 2/3 public school students. We also asked our directors to recruit the very best teachers from both the public and private schools to work together to create a fun, enriching summer experience where students from both schools work and play side by side without test drudgery. All partnerships have a lot of enriching experiences outside their core academic subjects, though each partnership has its own flavor and executes this in its own way. MGP students read and analyze great novels, plays, and poetry, write essays of their own, poems and stories, and delve deeply into mathematics. They also design race cars, parachutes, robots, build spaghetti bridges, vertical gardens, prosthetic legs for elephants and tails for fish, hike, swim, canoe, zip on lines above the trees, and ride horses. They create apps for social good, compose ringtones, fire ceramics, master dance moves, and paint paintings. They analyze media images, confront stereotypes, write and record and edit positive media messages for television. They make documentary movies, and they write grant proposals for the causes they believe in. The results are most multifaceted, and we create thoughtful future leaders and a larger worldview. During the school year, our students have done long-term service learning projects, developed and presented stories at center stage, and this year we'll be working on developing as leaders with purpose. The results for city school students? Remember, we're picking kids in the middle, and citywide, only 19% of students get into these top academic high schools. But for MGP students over the last 3 years, between 88 and 91% of our rising ninth graders get into these top academic high schools. The other result, we're working with economists and sociologists to capture this, but we believe we're creating relationships between school leaders and teachers who otherwise have no other way to interact. And most importantly, we believe we're creating lasting relationships across lines of race and socioeconomic circumstances, making an inroad into creating one Baltimore of greater understanding and enhanced opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. And I visit the program. It's an excellent program. any of the council members haven't been there yet, need to go and check it out. All the students were fully engaged. They talked about how great this school was, and it was a summer program that's been going on for how many years now?
We're going to be in our 15th summer.
15th summer, and the first time I heard about them when I was invited to come, and I was very, very moved and touched by the level of academic excellence that these students have. Even some of them who were no longer part of the program came back to be coaches to help the other students along. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you very much.
Give me a hand. It is the council custom to generalize the invocation. Ask for a motion to generalize the prayer. Motion by Council Vice President Middleton, second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of generalize the invocation say aye. All opposed nay. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. We'll now proceed with the adoption of the journal.
Mr. President, the journal of the proceedings from the September 17th City Council meeting is on council members' desks.
Is there a motion to approve the journal? Motion by Councilman Cohen, second by Councilman Burnett. All those in favor of adopting the journal say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried, the journal is adopted. Bill signed by the mayor can be found on page 2 of the agenda. Executive nomination.
EA 18-0155, Dawn L. Brown, member, Baltimore City Commission for Women, District 7.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee. Oh, withdrawn. Okay. All right. All of these are being withdrawn? No. Okay. Sorry about that. This was Dawn L. Brown was withdrawn. Executive nomination.
EA 18-0177, Jasper D. Jones, member, Adult Public Guardianship Review Board, District 6.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee.
EA 18-0178, Henry M. K., member, Parking Authority Board of Directors, District 6.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee.
EA 18-0179, Nicholas A. Mongeluzzo, member, Civilian Review Board, District 1.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee.
EA 18-0180, Sarah Louise Matthews, member, Commission on Aging and Retirement Education, District 6.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee.
EA 18-0181, Ann P. Powell, member, Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation, District 6.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee.
EA 18-0182, Jacqueline F. Burchard, member, Public Art Commission, District 6.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee.
EA 18-0183, Ku Pao Lan, member, Public Art Commission, District 1.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee.
EA 18-0184, Brian A. Oster, member, Public Art Commission.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee.
EA 18-0185, Danielle M. Brock, member, Public Art Commission, District 3.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee.
EA 18-0186, Sam Christian Holmes, member, Public Art Commission, District 5.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee. Bills to be introduced.
City Council Bill 18-0293, Baltimore Tourism Improvement District Establishment. For the purpose of establishing the Baltimore Tourism Improvement District, specifying the boundaries of the district, designating an association and providing for its rights, duties, and powers, designating the District Management Committee and providing for its rights, duties, and powers, mandating the financial responsibilities of the association in the city in conjunction with the operation of the district, providing for the assessment, collection, and enforcement of a supplemental assessment to be collected by the city for the association, specifying the city's role in maintaining existing tourism funding to the association, designating the Board of Estimates as the agency charged with reviewing and approving various matters relating to the district, the association and the District Management Committee, providing for the renewal, expiration, termination, and approval of the district and the association, providing for an effective date, providing for a special effective date, and generally relating to the existence, operation, and control of the Baltimore Tourism Improvement District. Sponsors, City Council President on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0294, rezoning certain properties to be rezoned to the new IMU 2 zoning district. For the purpose of changing the zoning for certain properties as outlined in red on the accompanying plat from the IMU zoning district or the I2 zoning district to the IMU 2 zoning district to reflect the establishment by separate ordinance of the new IMU 2 zoning district and making this ordinance subject to a certain contingency. Sponsors, City Council President on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0295, Baltimore City Landmark List Exteriors Hanlon Park. For the purpose of designating Hanlon Park in its entirety, 3051 Liberty Heights Avenue, 3001 North Hilton Street, and 2731 North Longwood Street as an historical landmark exterior. Sponsors Pinkett, President Young, Scott.
Chair recognizes Councilman Pinkett.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next year, Hanlon Park is going to be celebrating 100 years, and many people don't know that Hanlon Park was named for famous Baltimore Oriole baseball player, manager, and owner Ned Hanlon, who led the team in the National League. This is prior to even the World Series, so Baltimore had championships in 1894, 95, 96. He ultimately became a civic and political leader in Baltimore City and served as the president of the Board of Commissions of Parks back in the 1920s. So I'm excited to partner with the Friends of Hanlon Park on this project as we recognize this park, and hopefully the Orioles will come celebrate one of their greats while we celebrate this park. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. This has been assigned to the Housing and Urban Affairs Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0296, Licensing and Regulation National Human Trafficking Resource Center Hotline Information Sign Posting. For the purpose of requiring certain businesses to post a National Human Trafficking Resource Center hotline information sign in designated areas, requiring certain reports, defining certain terms, and establishing certain penalties. Sponsors Burnett, President Young, Henry, Middleton, Scott, Costello, Pinkett, Dorsey, Cohen, Stokes, Snead, Reisinger, Clark, Bullock.
Chair recognizes, please note that Councilman Schleifer is a co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hello? Okay, thank you, Mr. President. As you know, I serve as the co-chair of the Baltimore City Human Trafficking Collaborative, and as we continue to work with a number of agencies and service organizations to eliminate human trafficking in Baltimore, this was identified as one of the best practices across the country to connect potential victims to much needed help and services. So what we're looking to do is have this be available in hotels, restaurants, bars, adult entertainment facilities, and a few other locations in the restroom, which can often be the location that a victim of human trafficking has space to read that sort of information and be safe and call and get connected to local services. I'm thankful for all the co-sponsorships and the support from the collaborative on this bill, and be working with our chairman to schedule a date to get this going. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been assigned to the Judiciary and Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0297, Prevailing Wages Tax Increment Financing Projects. For the purpose of extending the existing prevailing wage requirement to projects receiving funds from tax increment financing in excess of a certain amount and clarifying and conforming related provisions. Sponsors Henry, Pinkett, Bullock, President Young, Middleton, Scott, Dorsey, Burnett, Cohen, Stokes, Snead, Clark, Reisinger.
Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. So, for those of you in the room who remember much of the Sturm und Drang around the Port Covington project, one of the issues that came out of that was the question of why wouldn't a developer pay prevailing wage if they're using public financing for the project, and that basically any big project that the city does, especially when we're doing some type of infrastructure work, we pay prevailing wage on those contracts. And with tax increment financing, even though it's a private developer that's doing the work, they're still doing that work with money advanced by the city, and they're doing it for us. This is always the whole idea, is that it's infrastructure work that the city would have done to make that development project work. So one of the things that came out of that was the issue that the city should be requiring this for projects that use tax increment financing in the future. And I'm glad to see that so many people have signed on as co-sponsors. I think that bodes well for the legislation's future. I would also like to thank my co-lead sponsor, Councilman Pinkett, who would also like to say a few words on introduction.
Chair recognizes Councilman Pinkett.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Councilman Henry alluded to, during this past legislative session, the General Assembly approved enabling legislation authorizing Baltimore and other local jurisdictions to attach prevailing wages to public infrastructure portions of TIF development projects. And so for Baltimore, this helps us to close the loop by adding TIFs to the list of city subsidies that must adhere to cities' prevailing wages. And so with this legislation, Baltimore would join at least 5 other cities and 5 other states and 12 cities, for example, Chicago, San Antonio, Denver, who have similar legislation. And so as we make decisions about how to allocate these capital funds, it's not only important for these capital investments to generate and support development efforts throughout the city, it's equally important for these capital dollars to create family-sustaining wages and benefits. So thank you.
Thank you. Please note that Councilman Costello is a co-sponsor. This has been assigned to the Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee. Resolutions introduced.
City Council Resolution 18-0105R, Legislative Oversight Hearing, Employees Retirement System and Retirement Savings Plan. For the purpose of requesting the Employees Retirement System Board of Trustees chairs and members from the current term of office and last term of office, and the Retirement Savings Plan Board of Trustees chairs and members from the current term of office and last term of office, the current and preceding executive directors of the Employees Retirement System and the Retirement Savings Plan, the operations manager of the Retirement Savings Plan, the chief investment officer of the Employees Retirement System, and the city solicitor to report to the City Council on the workings of the Employees Retirement System and the Retirement Savings Plan, to clarify how pension funds are managed, and to identify measures that can be implemented to make both the Employees Retirement System and the Retirement Savings Plan more transparent to employees of Baltimore City. Sponsors: President Young, Henry, Middleton, Scott, Costello, Pinkett, Dorsey, Burnett, Cohen, Stokes, Snead, Clark, Reisinger, Bullock.
Thank you to all the co-sponsors. Most of you know that there was an investigation that took place as far as the retirement system is concerned, and we just want to bring them in to make sure that all of the implementation that needs to be made to ensure that our funds are safe, to come in and talk to the council about that. So thank you for all the co-sponsors, and I'm looking forward to the chair of the Judiciary Committee to announce a hearing as soon as possible. This has been signed to the Judiciary Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Resolution 18-0106R, the Community Reinvestment Act. For the purpose of supporting the Community Reinvestment Act, which encourages lending and investment in low and moderate income communities. Sponsors: Bullock, President Young, Henry, Middleton, Scott, Pinkett, Dorsey, Burnett, Cohen, Stokes, Snead, Clark, Reisinger.
Chair, please note that Councilman Schleifer as a co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. As many of you know, the Community Reinvestment Act was passed by Congress in 1977, and it meant to deal with the issue of redlining. The fact that many of our neighborhoods in Baltimore that were underserved by people of color wound up being forced in a situation where loans were not provided, whether it be for home ownership mortgages or whether it be for small business lending. And those issues still face us today. And the reality is that there are some proposed changes to the CRA at the federal level. And so we know that that may have a potential impact of reducing funds for lending in Baltimore to the tune of over $200 million. And so we want to make sure that the banks are continuing to meet the credit needs of the surrounding communities. And so those potential changes to the regulations and examination procedures, again, they could be very deleterious as it relates to Baltimore. So given the urgency of this issue for Baltimore and the rest of the nation, Mr. President, I move for to suspend the rules for immediate adoption.
Second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of suspending the rules for immediate adoption of this resolution say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. The rules are suspended. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill favorably.
Second by Henry. All those in favor of adopting resolution 18-0106R say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. This resolution is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President.
City Council Resolution 18-0107R, Investigative Hearing, Arson and Fire Fatality Awareness, Community Risk Reduction Program. For the purpose of calling on representatives from the Baltimore City Fire Department, the Baltimore Police Department, the Baltimore City Public School System, the Baltimore City Health Department, the Baltimore City Department of Housing and Community Development, the Mayor's Office of Human Services, and the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice to appear before the City Council to discuss arsons, fire fatalities and injuries, and school fires, and to discuss what steps the city can take to reduce the risk of these incidents occurring to protect the children and residents of Baltimore City. Sponsors Middleton, President Young, Henry, Scott, Pinkett, Dorsey, Burnett, Cohen, Stokes, Snead, Clark, Reisinger, Bullock.
Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank all the council members that have signed on to this bill. A problem that each of our communities is affected by, but often goes unnoticed, is the devastation caused by the occurrence of fires. Whether it's a fire fatality that causes an unfortunate loss of life, an arsonist that victimizes innocent residents because of their actions, a number of the vacant homes that we see that could potentially catch on fire, or curious kids that disrupt our classrooms because they choose to play with matches and lighters in school. Fires have the potential to affect all of us. With the high number of fire fatalities that we have experienced over the past 2 winters, particularly among our youth and baby boomer populations, this investigative hearing will build off of this year's National Fire Prevention theme, Look, Listen, and Learn. Be aware, fire can happen anywhere. And while the fire department is assigned the responsibility for fire suppression duties in our city, we need to not only evaluate the programs and strategies, but also work to build a more holistic approach to addressing the silent crisis. And just to add, I met with Chief Ford and his chief of staff basically a couple weeks ago just to have a conversation about this, and they are definitely willing, and they're going to be just sharing and updating us on, you know, their plans and things that they have to help, again, to keep our city safe. So again, thank you for those that have signed on.
Thank you. This has been assigned to the Judiciary and Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Resolution 18-0108R, recognition of October as National Fire Prevention Month. For the purpose of recognizing October as National Fire Prevention Month, sponsors Middleton, President Young, Henry, Scott, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Cohen, Stokes, Snead, Clark, Reisinger.
Chair recognizes Council Vice President
Thank
Middleton.
you, Mr. President. And as we all know, this October is National Fire Prevention Month, and this coincides with the previous bill that I just spoke about. So again, thank you all for signing on.
Are you doing immediate adoption of this resolution?
And I'm like to suspend the rules for immediate adoption.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of suspending the rules for the immediate adoption of the resolution say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. The rules are suspended. Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
And I move the bill for immediate adoption.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of adopting resolution 18-0108R say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. This resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
City Council Resolution 18-0109R, recognizing October as Anti-Bullying Month. For the purpose of recognizing October as Anti-Bullying Month and calling on all schools and organizations dealing with youth in Baltimore to do their part to bring awareness to the bullying crisis and work to end bullying. Sponsors Schleifer, President Young, Henry, Middleton, Scott, Pinkett, Burnett, Cohen, Stokes, Snead, Clark, Reisinger, Bullock.
Chair recognizes, please note that Councilman Dorsey as a co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilman Schleifer.
Thank you, Mr. President. So last year, at the request of some teachers in my district, I submitted the exact same resolution, and so we're going ahead and doing that again. Last year, we started off by bringing awareness into the schools. We started off at the school in my old neighborhood and had all the kids sign an anti-bullying pledge, had some of these educators come in and talk to the kids about bullying, and we had some other programs we rolled out around that. And so I was encouraged to see that, and we also know that the way to resolve bullying is to simply bring awareness to it, and so that's what we're doing here. So I appreciate all the co-sponsorships.
This is for immediate adoption?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of suspending the rules for immediate adoption of this resolution say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. The rules are suspended. Chair recognizes Councilman Schleifer.
I'd like to move the resolution forward.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of adopting resolution 18-0109R, say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carrying this resolution is adopted.
City Council Resolution 18-0110R, investigative hearing, residency requirements for city officials. For the purpose of having a hearing to measure the compliance of city officials with residency and voting registration requirements and to determine how to move forward so that 100% compliance is reached. Sponsors Snead, President Young, Henry, Middleton, Scott, Pinkett, Dorsey, Burnett, Cohen, Stokes, Clark, Reisinger, Bullock.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Snead.
Thank you, Council President. We put in a bill earlier this year that basically stated that, you should, if you are a director or certain positions, that you should be living in Baltimore City. So it's just not good enough to put in bills. We want to go back and actually see where this bill stands, how effective it has been, and we just want to make sure that folks are in compliance because we're watching. So thank you, Council President, to all the sponsors who signed on.
Thank you, Councilwoman. This has been assigned to the Labor Committee.
City Council Resolution 18-0111R, informational hearing, Baltimore Metropolitan Drinking Supply. For the purpose of investigating the quality of source water for the Baltimore Metropolitan Drinking Supply, the impacts of activities and land uses at city-owned reservoir lands and throughout their watersheds, costs associated with such activities and land uses, and calling on representatives of the Department of Public Works, the Environmental Police, the Department of Real Estate, the Office of Sustainability, the Department of Transportation, the Mayor's Office of Emergency Management, and the Baltimore Metropolitan Council to report on such concerns. Sponsors Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Scott, Costello, Pinkett, Burnett, Cohen, Stokes, Snead, Clark, Reisinger, Bullock.
Please note, Council President is co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Earlier in the year, I got interested in knowing whether we're doing everything that we can to ensure that the source water that comes into the Liberty Reservoir, Loch Raven, and Pretty Boy reservoirs that the city owns outside of our jurisdictional bounds, whether we're doing everything that we can to ensure that that water is as clean and high quality as can be before we begin treating it. Treating our water to make it potable is costly, and water bills are rising in the city. And I want to make sure that our Department of Public Works, and as well as our partners in the surrounding jurisdictions, are all doing the best that we can to ensure that this metropolitan drinking system is run as cost effectively as possible, and that it is as free as possible of risks to potential kind of catastrophic changes due to climate change or other events. So I appreciate the co-sponsorship and support on this, and I look forward to a hearing on it. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been assigned to the Judiciary and Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Resolution 18-0112R, Worker Cooperatives Month in Baltimore, October 2018. For the purpose of declaring the month of October 2018 to be Worker Cooperatives Month in Baltimore. Sponsors Henry, President Young, Middleton, Scott, Dorsey, Burnett, Cohen, Stokes, Bullock, Snead, Clark, Reisinger.
Chair recognizes Councilman. Please note that Councilman Pinkett as a co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. So October is a very strong, powerful month. It has to be, because not only is it Fire Prevention Month, not only is it Anti-Bullying Month, but we would like it to also be Workers Cooperative Month. And let me tell you a little bit about this. So a workers cooperative is any business, small or large, in which the workers have an ownership stake in the corporation. And studies have shown that these types of businesses tend to actually be more successful, and they definitely improve the quality of life for the workers. And one of the reasons why Baltimore City Council is being asked to declare October 2018 Worker Cooperatives Month is because one of the first instances of such a business was in Baltimore back in the 1700s. A group of people who worked in a shoemaking establishment, they found themselves in a position to take ownership of the establishment, and they proceeded to make a go of it. And so I want to thank my co-sponsors for helping us to recognize these businesses, and I would move to suspend the rules to permit immediate adoption.
Second by Councilman Stokes. All those in favor of suspending the rules for immediate adoption of this resolution say aye. All opposed, nay. The motion carried. The rules are suspended. Chair recognizes Councilman Henry.
I move the resolution favorably.
Second by Councilman Stokes. All those in favor of adopting resolution 18-0113R say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried and this resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
You can find the consent calendar in Section A at the back of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? Motion by Councilman Scott, second by Councilman Dorsey. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried and this calendar is approved. Chair recognizes Councilman Dorsey.
Mr. President, I move to extend floor privileges to my special guest, Leon Bailey.
Second by Councilman Reisinger. All those in favor of extending floor privileges to Councilman Dorsey guests say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried and your guests may take the floor. Use the mic.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Mr. Leon Bailey is the author and self-publisher of The Dream, a book detailing his life growing up in Baltimore City and his journey in becoming an accomplished wrestler. Mr. Bailey is a 3rd District resident in the Hill and Road community. We have some other residents from the Hill and Road community. Could you raise your hand? Thank you. So during his grade school years, he had the opportunity to be part of the first McKim's Knights wrestling team during a time when segregation was very much present. Mr. Bailey recalls that Tuesday and Thursday nights were the only days African Americans could be on the wrestling mat and in the gym. Mr. Bailey attended Carver Votech, studied carpentry and cabinet making, continued wrestling, and also ran cross country and began boxing. After high school, in 1962, Mr. Bailey joined the United States Navy. While enlisted in the Navy, Mr. Bailey served on the USS Essex, CVS, an aircraft carrier. The Navy provided Mr. Bailey with a chance and dream of a lifetime, not only to wrestle and box for the United States Navy under Commander Josiah Henson, but became the coach during his last year in the Navy. Mr. Bailey is also a retired Baltimore City housing inspector with 36 years of service to the citizens of Baltimore. He's been president of the Edward Golder Memorial Scholarship Fund, Inc. for 20 years, which has raised more than $100,000 in scholarships for students at Carver Votech High School, and in 2000 was inducted into Carver's Hall of Fame. I want to reiterate a couple points of accomplishment in his life that really prompted me inviting him here to be recognized by the City Council this evening. In 1963, he integrated the Navy wrestling team as the first African American member. He won in 1964 the New England AAU Championship, the first African American to do so, and received an invitation to the 1964 Olympic trials. In 1965, he became the first African American to coach a Navy wrestling team, and in 2017 was inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. So tonight, it's my privilege and my pleasure to present to you this resolution from the City Council of Baltimore, reading, "Be it hereby known to all that the City Council of Baltimore offers its sincerest congratulations to Mr. Leon Bailey in recognition of his induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. The entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution to be presented on this 15th day of October 2018. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Bailey, I heard you on the radio this morning. You'd like to say something? Short and sweet now.
First, I'd like to say thanks. First, I'd like to say thanks to the Mayor and City Council and you, President Jack Young, and especially to my council representative, Ryan. I just want to say thanks because when I started my athletic career at McKim Center in 1955, at the age of 12 years old, I just didn't know it would come this far. But while I'm standing here, I'd like to thank two other people that are not here. And one is my coach, Charlie Robinson, who I was with a couple months ago, who's now 92 years old. So thank him, thank him. And I also like to thank my commander, Commander Josiah Henson, United States Navy, who really gave me the opportunity to wrestle for the United States Navy. Again, during that period of time that I wrestled in 1963, it wasn't easy for Negroes back in those days. But all of the challenges that I faced, I overcame those. And everything that I try to do is try to be the best that I could be. And everywhere I went, I also wanted to represent Baltimore, my school. And I want to also thank a young lady that's not here right now. And that's my mother. And that's my mother, never will forget her, who gave me the work ethics to go on and be the best, of everything. Thank you, and thank you, United States Navy.
Thank you. I can tell you this. He was one of the best inspectors that ever worked in the housing department in the city of Baltimore. Yep. Yeah. Very thorough. You can find the consent calendar in Section A at the back of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? Motion by Councilman Scott, second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carried. This calendar is approved. Chair recognizes Councilman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I make a motion to read short titles for the remainder of the meeting.
Second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carried. We'll now move the bills on second reading.
EA 18-0150, Avery B. Strachan, Member, Board of Municipal and Zoning Appeals, District 11.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee here held hearings on September the 26th and October the 3rd. I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0151, Dewinlin A. Alexander, Member, Baltimore City Commission for Women.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilwoman, Council Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0156, Catalina Bird, Member, Baltimore City Commission for Women, District 11.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0159, Elizabeth Getzoff, Member, Baltimore City Commission for Women.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilwoman Middleton. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0161, Neonta Holloway, Member, Baltimore City Commission for Women, District 12.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nominee is confirmed.
EA 18-0165, Shantae M. McKinley, Member, Baltimore City Commission for Women, District 2.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0168, Charmaine K. Taylor Anderson, Member, Baltimore City Commission for Women, District 8.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Councilman Burnett. All those in favor of confirming this nominee say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The motion carried. This nomination is confirmed.
EA 18-0169, Michelle Williams, member, Baltimore City Commission for Women.
Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I move the nomination favorable.
Second by Vice President Middleton. All those in favor of confirming this nominee, say aye. Those opposed, nay. This nomination is confirmed. Housing and Urban Affairs Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0242, Urban Renewal, Broadway East Amendment.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee met on October 9th and heard 6 bills. They are all being reported favorable with amendments. There is a technical amendment on your desks. I move the amendment favorable.
Second by Councilman Stokes. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
I move the bill favorably as amended.
Second by Councilwoman Sneed. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reading.
City Council Bill 18-0243, Urban Renewal, Poppleton Amendment.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee adopted 2 amendments to this bill. We have divided them on your desks. There are sheets there for reasons that will become apparent. The first is a technical amendment that adds a chronological number to the title. I move this amendment favorable.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of approving the technical amendment say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. The second amendment affects the zoning status in the plan. Subsequent to hearings that we've had with the Department of Law, Housing, and Planning, they made a persuasive case that these changes should be made at a later date. So out of respect for the process, I'm moving the amendment, but asking that it not be seconded and allowed to expire. I move the bill favor. I move the amendment.
You're moving the amendment?
I don't want to.
Okay. The amendment dies for lack of a second. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill favorable as amended.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reading.
City Council Bill 18-0246, Urban Renewal, Coldstream Homestead, Montebello Amendment.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilwoman Clark. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill favorably as amended.
Second by Councilwoman Clark. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reading.
City Council Bill 18-0247, Urban Renewal, Johnston Square Amendment.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilman Stokes. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill favorable as amended.
Second by Councilman Stokes. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reading.
City Council Bill 18-0248, Urban Renewal, Middle East Amendment.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilwoman Sneed. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill is amended. Please note, who's a no? Please note Councilwoman Sneed as a no. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill favorable as amended.
Second by Councilman Stokes. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reading.
City Council Bill 18-0252, Urban Renewal, York Woodburn Business Area Amendment.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill favorable as amended.
Second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reading. Judiciary and Legislative Investigation Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0232, Diaper Changing Amenity.
Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's amendments on my colleague's desk. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilman Schleifer. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion to approve this bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill favorably as amended.
Second by Councilman Schleifer. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reading. For the listening public, when the council members don't say yay or nay, then they're saying yes. So if you don't hear that, I just want you to know that. Okay?
City Council Bill 18-0275, unidentifiable vehicles, immediate towing.
Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's amendments on my colleague's desk. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilman Dorsey. All those in favor of approving this amendment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. This motion is approved. This bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill favorably as amended.
Second by Councilman Dorsey. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader. Silence means yes. Land Use and Transportation Committee.
City Council Bill 17-0102, complete streets.
Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Yeah, Mr. President, members of the council, the committee heard the bill on April 25th for hearing, and also we had 2 work sessions on September the 26th and October the 10th. And Mr. President, this time I would like to defer to the sponsor of the bill, Councilman Dorsey.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't really want to say much about this bill tonight. I prefer to speak a little bit more at length on it on third reader, but I regard this as a really important bill. I've obviously spent a lot of time working on this over the last year and have had incredible support from the Council President's office, great partnership from particularly Councilman Pinkett. Thank you so much for being part of so many meetings, as well as the Department of Transportation and the Mayor's office. I do just want to I also want to acknowledge my coalition of partners. Can we have all the folks who showed up here tonight for Complete Streets stand up? We got some T-shirts on some folks. We have some other folks, some No Boundaries Youth here as well. Thank you. Thank you. Bike More. So many folks here. Thank you so much. And if you're wondering where those cool T-shirts came from, Mr. Council President, I have one here for you. I'd love to get a photo with you later on. This is not a bribe, but you do get a T-shirt out of the deal.
I hope it's a medium.
I didn't say that. That was him. The only other thing I do want to say at the moment here is this is our first council meeting since a really damning report came out on climate change. And I think that it's really important that this council and our city be leaders on this issue. It's not my opinion that we have leadership at the moment at the state level that's going to make Maryland a leader on this, but we here in Baltimore City can really push the envelope to get towards climate goals that are really, really important for us as a country to be pursuing. And I believe that Complete Streets and moving people away from reliance on automobiles as the only means to a quality of life here in Baltimore City is an absolute imperative for so many reasons. May I move the amendments favorable?
You have to move them, then you can
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. The amendments are on my colleague's desk. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilman Dorsey. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the bill favorable as amended.
Second by Councilman Dorsey. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 17-0122, rezoning 1 North Haven Street.
Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the finding of facts.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of approving the finding of facts say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve the finding of facts are adopted. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, this bill has amendments. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve the bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
I move the bill favorable as amended.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 18-0256, zoning conditional use conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to 3 dwelling units in the R8 zoning district. Variances 1747 East Lombard Street.
Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the finding of facts.
Second by Councilwoman Sneed. All those in favor of approving the finding of facts say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve the finding of facts are adopted. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
This bill has amendments. I move the amendments.
Second by Councilwoman Sneed. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill is amended. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
I move the bill favorable as amended.
Second by Councilwoman Sneed. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reader. Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee.
City Council Bill 18-0197, sale of property, 1215 West Lafayette Avenue, Block 0090, portion of Lot 011A.
Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President, which was the sponsor of the bill. The committee heard this bill on October 4th, 2018. The committee approved the bill as favorable. I move the bill.
Second by Councilman Bullock. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 18-0221, recordation and transfer taxes, surtax, dedicating surtax proceeds to Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Middleton.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. As we all know, this bill started as a referendum which was passed favorably by the people and voters of the city of Baltimore. And then the sponsor of this bill had put in this bill, Councilman John Bullock, and the committee heard the bill on September 27th, 2018, and I yield to the sponsor of the bill first.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Council Vice President, Chairwoman Middleton. As was mentioned, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, that was a ballot issue back in 2016. So 2 years ago, voters overwhelmingly supported, over 83% of voters. I'm thankful to you, Mr. President, to the members of the council, all of you who are co-sponsors, but as well as the advocates and as well as the mayor. It took a lot of discussion over the months to get to a point where we could have a bill that gets us closer to the issue of affordable housing. You heard from the Housing for All Coalition, many of whom are with us this evening. We recognize that affordable housing has been an issue in Baltimore, not just this year, but in years past, and we understand that going into the future, we also have to make provisions to provide for affordable housing. So I will keep my comments brief, but again, I just want to thank everyone who has put their hands to the grindstone on this issue, recognizing that it is a human rights issue, and it's an issue of equity in our city, and it's time that we dedicate resources to this valuable effort. So thank you, Chairwoman Middleton.
You're welcome. Mr. President, I move the committee amendments.
Second by Councilman Bullock. All in favor of approving these amendments say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill is amended. Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
Mr. President, I move the amendments I move amendment number 1 that's on your desk to amend the bill to reflect the grandfathering language agreed upon by the Housing Coalition.
Second by Councilman Bullock. All those in favor of approving these amendments say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill is amended. Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
Mr. President, I move the amendment on the council member's desk to remove the sunset provision from the bill.
Second by Councilman Bullock. All those in favor of approving the amendment say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill is amended.
Mr. President, I move the bill favorably as amended.
Second by Councilman Bullock. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 18-0226, sale of property, former beds of Eastbourne Avenue and a portion of Savage Street.
Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee heard this bill on October 4th, 2018. The committee approved the bill as favorable. I move the bill as a favorable report.
Second by Councilman Cohen. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve this bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 18-0249, sale of property, 222 West Reed Street.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee heard this bill on October 4th, 2018. The committee approved the bill as favorable. I move the bill with a favorable report.
Second by Councilman Cohen. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. Those opposed, nay. This bill is amended. This bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 18-0250, sale of property, 2200 Sinclair Lane.
Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee heard this bill on October 4th, 2018. The committee approved the bill as favorable. I move the bill with a favorable report.
Second by Councilwoman Sneed. All in favor of approving this bill say aye. Second by Councilwoman Clark. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader. Third reader for final passage.
City Council Bill 18-0230, Ethics Code Transparency and Lobbying Act. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0241, Urban Renewal, Druid Heights Amendment. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0244, Urban Renewal, Oliver Amendment. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0245, Urban Renewal, Park Heights Amendment. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 18-0255, rezoning certain properties in the Old Goucher community. President Young, Cohen, Scott, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
This bill is approved. Committee announcement. Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Mr. President, the Executive Appointments Committee will hold a hearing on Wednesday, October the 17th, beginning at 10 a.m. to view the following nominations. This hearing is rescheduled from September the 26th to October the 17th. Baltimore City Commission for Women, Brianna Bolden. The Executive Appointments Committee will hold a hearing on Wednesday, October the 17th, 2018, beginning at 9:45 a.m. to view the following nomination. This hearing also is rescheduled from November the 7th to October the 17th. Compensation Committee for Elected Officials, Vernon Andrew Reed, Jr. The Executive Appointments Committee will hold a hearing on Wednesday, October the 17th, 2018, beginning at 10 a.m. For Compensation Committee for Elected Officials, Patrick Lundberg, Alexander Smith, Dermot Zollicoffer, Clara Siegel, Kenneth Taylor Sr., and Charles Tilden III. The Executive Appointments Committee will hold a hearing on Wednesday, November the 17th at 10 a.m. for the following nominations. Adult Public Guardianship Review Board, Jasper Jones. Commissioner on Aging and Retirement Education, Sarah L. Matthews. Commissioner on Historical and Architectural Preservation, Ann Powell. Public Art Commission, Jacqueline F. Bashard and Daniel M. Brock. The Executive Appointments will hold a hearing on Wednesday, November the 17th, beginning at 10 a.m. to view the following nominations. Park and Authority Board of Directors, Henry M. Kay. Civilian Review Board, Nicholas A. Mongaluzzo. Civilian Public Art Commission, Pigo Howe Leanne, Brian A. Alster, Sam Christian Holmes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Committee will hold a hearing at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, October 24th. This will be televised. This is on 18-0105R, Legislative Oversight Hearing, Employees Retirement System. Let me start over. Move to suspend rules 10-2 and 10-3 to announce the
Second
hearing.
by Councilman Stokes. All those in favor of suspending the rules and announcing hearing say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carried. You may announce your hearing.
JLI, Wednesday, October 24th, 5 p.m., televised 18-0105R, Legislative Oversight Hearing, Employees Retirement System and Retirement Savings Plan at the request of Council President Young. Move to suspend rules 10-3 to announce a hearing.
Second by Councilman Scott. All those in favor to suspend the rules and announce the hearing say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carried. May you announce the hearing.
JLI will hold a hearing on Tuesday, November 27th at 10 a.m. In Chambers. This is for 18-0107R, Investigative Hearing, Arson and Fire Fatality Awareness, Community Risk Reduction Program at the request of Councilwoman Middleton. Budget and Appropriations Committee will hold a hearing on Thursday, October 25th at 2 p.m. on 18-0265, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation Police Department in the amount of $21 million. This is a voting session at the request of the Department of Finance. Budget and Appropriations will hold a hearing on Thursday, October 25th at 2:01 p.m. in Chambers. This is City Council Resolution 17-0003R, Quarterly Budget Briefings with the Bureau of Budget and Management Research. Budget and Appropriations will hold a hearing on Thursday, October 25th at 3:30 p.m. on Council Resolution 17-0004R. This is budget oversight hearings for Baltimore City Public Schools. Budget and Appropriations Committee will hold a hearing on Thursday, November 8th at 2 p.m. This is on Council Bill 18-0078R, informational hearing, coordination of City Watch and ATVES and DAS installations. This is at the request of Council President Young, Councilman Pinkett, and Councilman Costello. Budget and Appropriations will hold a hearing on 18-0091R, budget oversight hearing for Baltimore City Police Department. That will be on Monday, November 26th at 5:01 p.m. I know my colleague Councilman Scott will be announcing the companion hearing. And lastly, the Biennial Audits Oversight Commission will hold its second hearing of the year on Monday, December 17th at 5 p.m. In chambers, which will also be televised. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chair. Recognize Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Housing and Urban Affairs Committee will be meeting on Tuesday, November 13th. Beginning at 3:30 p.m., we'll be hearing City Council Bill 18-0292, Ordinance Urban Renewal Market Center Amendment. Following that, at 3:35 p.m., we will be hearing City Council Bill 18-0224, Ordinance City Streets Opening Eastbourne Avenue and a portion of Savage Street. Followed at 3:40 p.m. by City Council Bill 18-0225, Ordinance City Streets Closing Eastbourne Avenue and a portion of Savage Street. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, the Land Use and Transportation Committee will hold a hearing on Bill 18-0217 on November 14th at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. This is zoning. It's a conditional use conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to two dwelling units in the R8 zoning district located at 1823 West Baltimore Street. Mr. President, I move for suspension of rules 10-2.
Second by Councilman Costello. All those in favor of suspend the rules. Nelson Harris say aye.
Aye. The Land Use and Transportation Committee will hold a hearing on Bill 18-0289 on November 28th at 1 p.m. This is a PUD designation at Mount Vernon Mill. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee will hear City Council Bill 18-0189 on Thursday, October 25th, 2018 at 10 a.m. It's the short-term residential rentals regulation and taxation. Also, the Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee will hear City Council Bill 18-0254, Thursday, October 25th, 2018, 10:05 a.m. It's the property tax credit, school public safety officers. And also, I move to suspend the rules 10-2 and 10-3 to announce a hearing.
Second by Councilman Slifer. All those in favor of suspend the rules and announce a hearing say aye. All opposed, nay. The motion carried. Chair, you may counsel.
And again, Taxation, Finance, Economic Development, City Council Bill 18-0293, Thursday, November 1st, 2018 at 2 p.m. here in council chambers. It's the Baltimore Tourism Improvement District establishment. And also the Taxation, Finance, Economic Development Committee will hear Bill number 18-0104R, Thursday, November 1st at 2:05 p.m. here in council chambers, and it's an informational hearing, subsidies to Baltimore City's hospitality and tourism industry now and in the future.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the council, the Public Safety Committee will meet on November the 26th here in the Du Burns Chambers at 5 p.m. for City Council Resolution 18-0092R, a monthly crime stat meeting with the Baltimore City Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. President. On October 18th at 5 p.m. in council chambers, the Education and Youth Committee will hold legislative oversight hearing on arts education in our schools on behalf of Councilman Dorsey and the Arts Education Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Scott. You said 4 o'clock. Okay.
Regular announcement.
Okay, I thought you had something else to say. Regular announcements. Chair recognized. I'm gonna go down the road. John Stokes, Clark, Burnett, Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to announce a couple of upcoming events, one in my district and one in partnership with Councilman Cohen. On October 24th, I'll be hosting a district-wide community academy in partnership with the Housing Department to share strategies and ideas and best practices in dealing with blight and vacant housing in Baltimore City. That'll be at Connection Point Church. And on November 1st, I'll be partnering with my colleague, Councilman Cohen from the 1st District to host, and the Baltimore City Human Trafficking Collaborative, to host a human trafficking community mobilization training at Breath of God Lutheran Church. Also, I'd like to ask Madam Vice President that you, for the prayer that we, while all deaths are absolutely a tragedy, definitely wanted to highlight the loss of life of Mr. Lawrence Price, 73-year-old who was murdered on October 4th in the Howard Park community, and send prayers to him and his family. And also keep eyes open in prayers for Ms. Serenity Price, no relation, who's a 13-year-old who's been missing from the Edmondson Village area, and was last seen on September 14th, and is her mother is a friend and constituent of mine. So just want to keep her in prayer that she returns home safely.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
I just want to personally thank Mayor Pugh for, we have a groundbreaking for the Oliver Pool that's been closed for 12 years, and I worked with it through the mayor, and she put the funding there, so we're doing a groundbreaking on October the 27th at 12 noon. Thank you.
Thank you. Regular announcements. Again, Chair recognizes everybody, nothing to say. Chair recognizes Councilman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise to ask that Councilwoman Middleton honor a moment of silence for the 245 homicide victims in the city of Baltimore and all those that we have lost for the opioid crisis in 2018 as well.
Thank you. Councilwoman Clark.
I would also like to rise to ask for a moment of silence for Julia Montgomery. She's well known in North and Northeast Baltimore. All of us up in that neck of the woods were faithful followers. She was a great community leader, and I hope that she will be remembered by all of us so that carry on her tradition as best we can. Thank you.
Before I recognize Vice President Middleton, we have a birthday. Councilman Pinkett, who will be celebrating his birthday October the 21st. The City Council Glee Club need to stand up and start singing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, Councilman. You want the council to sing? Okay. Chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
The next meeting of the City Council will be held on Monday, October 29th, 2018 at 5 o'clock p.m. And may we have a moment of silence for Lawrence Bryce, Serenity Price, Julia Montgomery, the 245 victims of homicide and their families, and also the families that continue to suffer from the opioid epidemic in the city of Baltimore.
Thank you. There being no further business, this concludes the 43rd meeting of the 72nd term of the Baltimore City Council. Good night.